Thank you, Valerie. All right, at this time, I will call this meeting to order. And Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Dinio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Villa?
Here. At this time, I will remind you all to silence any cell phones or electronic devices that you may have at this time. And I will ask you all to please stand for the invocation led by City Commissioner John Danio and continue standing for the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Okay. You guys know that I like to start out my invocations with some little fact or trivia, or little something to get us going. And so with that, I Googled today on this date, and I found out, believe it or not, that today is National Kiss and Makeup Day. And I thought, you know what, with everything going on, with the COVID, with the protesting, with just everything out there, we kind of needed something with a little positivity to kickstart. I figured with God blessing our meeting, that's a good thing to start. So I just wanted to say that today was the anniversary of my dad's death. Unfortunately, we had a very positive relationship, and there were never any unsettled business. But being it's Kiss and Make Up Day, I just kind of want to remind everybody that if there's any relationships, whether it's city, whether it's personal, this is a reminder to get out there and get right. Get right with God and get right with people. So let's ask Him for a blessing on our meeting. Father, we just thank you tonight for being here in our presence. God, we just lift up all the concerns, all the broken relationships that need to be repaired, God. We ask you to just continue to be with our city as we move forward. Help us to make good decisions. Help us to work for the people, with the people, God. Just continue to figure out this mess of COVID and everything that's out there. We know that you're in charge, and we just got to sit back and let you take care of things. And God, we just want to just continue to ask you for our blessing on our meeting. Be with us up here, and we ask us all in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Perfect timing, right?
What's that?
Perfect timing.
I was like, I didn't, I was like, I don't
All
know what
right.
happened, but
Thank you very much, Commissioner John Danio, for that well-received invocation. Appreciate it. We will move to presentations. And first, we have a proclamation here honoring Elizabeth Liz, as we like to call her, Nelson, of 21 years of service. And so I do have a proclamation here that I will read into record. Unfortunately, Liz, unless she showed up, was unable to make it tonight. So I will read this into the record, and this will be delivered to her. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, recognizing Elizabeth Nelson for her 20 years of service to the City of Holly Hill and its citizens. Whereas Liz Nelson began her career with the City of Holly Hill on July 8, 1999, as administrative assistant in the Building and Zoning Department. And whereas Liz's position was reclassified to the position of licensing, permit, and zoning technician on October 1st, 1999, a position she held until her retirement on July 16, 2020. And whereas Liz has proven to be an extremely knowledgeable employee, which she demonstrated through her remarkable technical and analytical research skills related to building and zoning. Throughout her employment, Liz was extremely dependable. She was always on time, and she could always be counted on by her supervisor for attendance and getting the job done and done right. And whereas Liz held a highly responsible position serving as the sole licensing and permit technician for the Building and Zoning Department for the majority of her tenure, which later became the Community Development Department. Citizens, staff, and contractors relied on her to provide accurate and factual information in compliance with codes and regulations. And whereas it is Liz's contributions to not only the Building and Zoning Division, but the city as a whole, which has paved the way for the continued success of the Community Development Department. Now therefore be it resolved, the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill Florida hereby acknowledges its grateful appreciation of Elizabeth Liz Nelson for her 21 years of outstanding service and dedication to the city of Holly Hill, and wish her well in her retirement and through her future endeavors. And so this will be delivered to her, and we thank her so much for her service. I know that personally, before my election to commission, I worked with her closely with the Board of Planning and Appeals. She also gave a lot of her time to the planning board as well to facilitate that board as well, which we're very all thankful for. With that, we will now recognize someone who is in the audience with us tonight. And what I will do is I will read this resolution into the record, and afterwards, if you feel comfortable and would like to, if you would like to come forward, and if you wish to say a few words, you're more than welcome to at the stand. Otherwise, we can just take a picture if you're comfortable with it, and then you can all be on your way if you don't want to stick around for the nuts and bolts of the rest of the meeting. So it's an honor to be able to read this resolution on behalf of the city of Holly Hill, Florida, recognizing Scott Gadamer for his 9.5 years of service to the city of Holly Hill and its citizens. Whereas Scott Gadamer began his career with the city of Holly Hill on January 7, 2011, working part-time, then being changed to full-time on January 18, 2013. And whereas Scott brought to the city his immense mechanical and technical knowledge, all aspect of equipment and vehicle repair to include welding, fabrication, gas and diesel engine and generators. And whereas it was Scott's talent and understanding of the highly technical world of small equipment, which the city has relied on for many years, Scott found his niche, keeping vital equipment running, not just week in and week out, but during hurricanes, flooding, and all emergencies, which included Hurricanes Matthew, Irma, and Michael. And whereas Scott demonstrated superior performance and repairs and a work ethic that was second to none, and whereas Scott, with the introduction of the new on-call team, volunteered to service the people of Holly Hill after the workday was done, not only working the on-call team, but training his colleagues on the safe and proper use of equipment. He has done this admirably since its conception, and with professionalism and civic selflessness and public spirit. And whereas Scott has proven to be a dependable employee, a dedicated worker, and a reliable resource for exceptional professionalism. More than that, he is a better colleague, teammate, and friend that we have all had the privilege to know. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, hereby acknowledges its grateful appreciation of Scott Gadamer for his 9.5 years of outstanding service and dedication to the City of Holly Hill, and wish him well in his retirement and through his future endeavors. Thank you. Would you like to come forward? Would you like to say anything? No? Okay. Would you like to take a picture with the commission? Yeah. All right. Well, here you go, sir. And should we all come down or stay back here? We'll stay back here. You stand right up there. Due to COVID, we'll not get too cozy. How about that?
It canceled.
They all get standing around probably.
Already had it. What are you worried about?
Yep.
Couldn't tell you the last time.
All right, big smiles, guys, big smiles.
You won't be
How
able
can
to
you
tell.
tell? Right.
Yeah.
Try again.
It's the eyes.
Yeah, it's all in the eyes.
Yeah, come on up. Anyone you want in the picture. This is your proclamation, Scott. Yeah, whoever you want. This is his proclamation, so.
That was very nice, thank you. Thank you. Exceptionally nice words.
Stand up, Penny.
Ha, ha, ha.
Proclamation back on the screen.
Yeah, how about that? Keep laughing. smiling.
Yeah, I know. It shows in your eyes.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for your service, Scott. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Hey, Scott, don't forget to come in for lunch, man.
Yeah, I can't eat.
You're retired, but you can eat still.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you for coming. All right, and with that, we will move down to public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to address the commission about anything not on our regular agenda tonight. Is there anyone in the audience? Yes, Mr. Hanger.
Robin Hanger, 950 Ridgewood Avenue. Sitting in here listening to y'all tonight, I got a couple of things that I wrote down, and I think I got them in order. Hopefully I can read my writing. Anyhow, I ask each one of you to take a little bit of time and walk US 1, a block or two north of or south of your businesses or in front of City Hall. Take a look at the mess that is along the curbsides, the grass that's growing up in between the curb cuts, which is where a car pulls in to a place where either business is or where multiple businesses are not, or vacant property. We have so many curb cuts from businesses in the past, but those curb cuts have got grass growing up in them and looks terrible. I mean, so if you take a little bit of time and look at that, but not only US 1, go a couple of blocks into the city either way, even go to Riverside Drive. There's weeds growing up road signs. There's weeds growing up power lines on Riverside Drive. Our city, it just looks bad. And as a business owner of multiple business properties and residential properties, you know, I'd like to see that change. Code enforcement. Code enforcement needs to be of private homes too, not just businesses. Businesses, yes, they need code enforcement. We all need somebody to tell us every now and then, hey, this is looking a little shabby or that's looking a little shabby, but we need private homes to meet code enforcement. Trash code enforcement. Fast food restaurants, their wrappers, they're all over the place out in front of their businesses, but nobody, an employee of theirs or them, owners or managers, don't go out and pick it up. It just blows down the street. They need to be responsible for that. McDonald's, Crystal's, Little Caesars, those places, it's terrible down there. Sonic at the other end, same thing. It's not their fault, but it's their product. They made money selling it. Let's clean it up. Speaking of revenues, I think that you should charge landlords of some of these rental properties of these homes that we are so many of. The reason that we our property values are down is because someone's owned that place for years, and you know, it's charge the landlords a fee for being a rental facility. It is a business. Charge them an annual fee to lease it. I myself own a couple of rentals, so you know, it's I don't want to see prices go up either, but if it's for the betterment of the city, fines for doing business, without, you know, if you find a place like charge them to be a business, or fine them for not cleaning up, or their tenants not cleaning up, then it's going to cost the landlord money. He's either going to get a better tenant or he's going to pay fines. Or better yet, or not better yet, they'll have to sell the place. You know, they sell it, someone else comes in and buys it, now it goes on a current tax rate, which increases value of our properties. There again, not wanting to see things go up, but take care of what you got. You're in our city. Overall, a person that owns a house will take care of it better than if they are renting it. I'm gonna make it quick here. The problem is we have too many renters. Property values will go up if we fix that. Remove landlords, remember, being a landlord is a business. Real quick. Most people will take care of their properties if they own it. I already said that, sorry. Put the responsibility of cutting the grass in front of businesses along US 1 and in front of homes. It's already the responsibility of the homeowner. Let's make it the responsibility of the business owners to cut the grass. That's going to cut down on having to have the prisoners and all that. Pictona, it's our growth catalyst. We must clean up our streets. We are going to be on national TV soon. We need to clean up what we got. Last, you're going to always fall short to find I forget what I was trying to get at there, but I'm running out of time, so I'm out of time.
It's all good.
Sorry about that. Taking care of employees, you must do that at the end of the year. You've got to let them know they did a good job. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanger.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about anything not on a regular agenda tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Vince Smith, 107 7th Street.
Good
Nice
catch.
to be back. Haven't been here for a while. Just a couple of good comments. I agree with Robin on a lot of what he said, by the way, about the cleanup and the care for, and especially with what he said with Pictona, I believe, too, going to be bringing people to the city. You know, there's like a long-term picture of what that should all look like and how we town could benefit from it. But in the short term of whenever they're going to start with whatever tournaments they could bring here, I think that we don't want people to get a bad first impression on an already perhaps not glowing reputation by those who don't actually live here and know the good things about Holly Hill. I would like to also commend the police department for all they've been doing. I see they've been very busy all over the city, and kudos there. And of course, my park friend wants me to ask, what is the status of fixing the pier? I do notice that the bridge construction has begun, which is good to see after a year of the contract being awarded. But any status on the pier?
And Mrs. Smith will give an update after public comment is done. I'll have Mr. Forte directly address that.
Very good.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the commission about anything not on our regular agenda tonight? All right, we could have just went straight to him. Sorry. So now, Mr. Forte, would you please give an update and address the funding with the pier and the problems that seem to just keep spouting up for us?
Yeah, I'm actually looking for Steve's latest
The updated email?
update, yeah. You know, we continue to deal with FEMA and the state of Florida and the audit firm that's overlooking that. And we battle back and forth. For example, we were given response from FEMA saying that the project was moving forward. And we made certain strides in moving in that direction. And then we got a notification saying, no, it's been deobligated. Well, why was it deobligated? Well, you haven't, it hasn't met this standard. Well, you told us 2 months ago it was moving forward. Well, I've now learned to ask what moving forward means. So there are some things that are coming along out of FEMA. We are getting reimbursed for some of the direct administrative costs. We are getting reimbursed for some of the debris hauling. We are still in a battle over the seawall. I think we just got obligated on this pier, but I'm not 100% sure. Stella, did you read that email from Steve? No obligation yet. Not obligated? Did it, maybe it moved to the next level? I'll have to come back and check.
On which pier? On the southern or northern?
We only have one pier.
Well, I mean, we took down the one to the
Right.
south.
Yeah.
But, and I know that that's an issue as well that we've been dealing with.
Right, I've made a request to the state of Florida for, they want proof that we either received or were given permission to not acquire a permit. So we're going through that process. I can't find Steve's updated email. But, it's out of our control. We keep doing what we need to do. We keep providing them the information we provide. Steve communicates with them almost on a daily basis, several times a day. Keeps providing them the information that they ask for. We keep getting requests for sometimes the very same information. But there's, until such time as we get the absolute go-ahead to move forward, I still suspect it's going to be a while. In fact, the most recent comment was, the pier is moving forward. We originally started doing the design work to replace the pier with concrete and aluminum like we have down at 2nd Street. And they came back and said, no, you can't do that. And this is what they directed us to do. And then they came back and said, no, you can't do that. You have to go back to replace it with like kind, which is a wood pier and wood pilings and wood decking. They said you can go forward with doing the concrete and aluminum, but you've got to resubmit, which may take another 3 years. They would not commit to obligating the additional cost for that. So then we committed to going forward with the wood pier, and that's kind of the next stage of this process.
And I will say, too, that I believe it was the last commission meeting, the commission did speak about it because we know it's a problem. It hasn't been built back, and I know a lot of people down there that are just really upset about it, and we are, too. We've been hitting our head against the wall, especially staff, day in and day out with the state and getting the runaround, and every time they put the goalpost out, they end up moving it on us. But we did speak about it, and staff and myself will be meeting with Congressman Waltz coming up to let him know and see if he can pressure, and also some state officials as well, see if we can create any political pressure behind it to maybe get that ball moving a little quicker. But if not, then it's going to be something in the future that this commission is going to have to look at, or how long can we wait for the state, and is the state actually going to ever do it? And if not, we need to talk about the possible funding or possibly not of that pier. So that's kind of where we stand on that. And
I actually just found the email.
Okay.
So with regard to the North Pier, it says FEMA has denied the HMP for the project. Sea Diversified, which is the consulting engineers for that, is aware of the replace in-kind change, and they're altering their design. That's what I explained. We went from the concrete back to the wood. The project was obligated by FEMA for the amount of $686,000, but reimbursement will be based on the actual cost. The southern bulkhead, the project was found ineligible due to FEMA's inability to determine whether damages were storm-related or not. We had drafted an appeal letter, and that is being sent to FEMA to respond to the denial on that. The northern bulkhead, FEMA is threatening to withhold obligation of this project until the permit correspondence has been received from the state and the federal agencies based on the demolition of the pier on the south side.
thank you for that update. So staff is working very hard on it, but good question. Is there anyone else? Yes, Mr. Legary.
Jim Legary, 342 Burley. I'd like to follow up on something that Robin was making reference to. I think some time back, we determined that we have like 51% home ownership in Holly Hill. And there was discussion about how we could encourage people to, you recall that? Have we done anything with that? Is there any progress of any kind?
I didn't hear you, what you had said, Jim. What was the?
I don't remember. When was it?
With the discussion of encouraging more home ownership and how we can do that.
Oh.
And it was attached more to a goal that we should work towards. And a lot of it has been done and is being done in our community through code enforcement. We are stepping up code enforcement. Our code enforcement officers, we receive emails every day of the amount of cases that they're opening and closing, and they're doing a lot more than they have, and that was the will of this commission. So that's the first step. I think that's one of the biggest steps, is making sure that the neighborhoods are clean, and we can encourage more of a possibility for people to come and especially young families to purchase homes and invest in our community. And then, as Robin alluded to, take care of the property. They're going to take care of it a lot more than any renter ever is. I think that's what you're alluding to. Well, hold on.
Well, yeah, well, I'm wondering what we're doing other than code enforcement. I saw that I think personal incomes are up some 16, 17% in the last 3 or 4 years. I was wondering where that was. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Legary. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about anything not on our regular agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comments and we'll move to approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Wait.
Yeah.
Can I ask Joe something?
Yeah.
Before we move on? Mr. Hanger brought up an idea of the right-of-way being maintained by the business owner. And I know in the neighborhoods, 15 feet of my front yard is the right-of-way, but I cut it and mow it and landscape it and fertilize it. And I think what he's talking about is the median, the strip.
Right.
Can we obligate, can the business owner be obligated, I know he's out there picking up trash at 6 o'clock in the morning, but can we obligate the business owner to do that?
Sure, you can do whatever you want and set that standard. The problem is, you may cut your grass once a week, John may cut his once every other week, and the guy up the street may cut his once a month. So we'd have to set the standard. Not everybody's going to cut the grass on the same day, so it's never going to look even.
The lack of the prisoners now, it would be
That's
most
exactly
helpful.
right. You mentioned it early, and we're down 48 to 64 hours a day without having the inmates here to do that. So the crew that I have, there's only 6 people on that crew, and I've got them working over at Pictona doing other things to get that up and running, and they're doing stuff at Second Street Park, and they're spread thin. So until we get the inmates back, that's how it's going to be. The inmates are supposed to start working on the DOT roads, I think, in about a week or 2. And if that goes well without them contracting the COVID virus and bringing it back to the prison, they'll go back to start working for the cities probably by mid to late September, possibly. So we're kind of looking forward to that coming through. The problem that we have in this city, and Robin mentioned a lot of the fast food places, it's not coming from the fast food places, though I agree they should clean their parking lots up, like anybody should clean their parking lots up. I know when I worked for McDonald's, we had to walk the parking lot at least 3 times a day. The problem's coming from people waiting for the bus. I guarantee you, every bus stop, whether it has a trash receptacle or not, is full of trash. If it were up to me, I'd recommend we get rid of the bus stops, not the bus stops, but the bus benches. Because I've watched people sit there, eat their meal, and then dump their trash. If they had a stand, there's nowhere to put their stuff, so they can't eat. They'll eat it on the bus, and they'll leave it on Votran's bus. The trash is coming from the bus stops. I promise you, the trash is coming from the bus stops. I'd like to get rid of the bus benches. That will clean up US 1 of the filthy-looking bus benches that we have, and 2, the trash that people leave behind when they're waiting for the bus. Want to make a step?
And where's some of these people going to sleep?
You know, if they're waiting, you know, I was told, well, they need to sit down waiting for the bus. There's no bus stops in Ormond Beach. There's no bus benches in Ormond Beach. If the bus comes at 11 o'clock, get there at 5:02, not 10:30. So that will help clean up the city. So there are things that we can do, but while you're going to do something in a good way, like we found with most things we do, it's going to negatively affect somebody. And frankly, the people that are waiting for the bus are the people that are littering in this city. The bus stops are filthy.
Well, Joe, you go to the chamber meetings once a month, right?
Yes.
Could you just float that out to them? Like maybe they could put something in their email, you know, let's take a little pride in ownership, pride in rentership or whatever, and clean up in front of your business?
Sure.
Think there's any traction there?
Sure, I mean, we could certainly have them put that in the newsletter, that at least during this time with the absence of the inmates, ask the business owners to, while many of them have to mow their own properties, or they have contractors that do it, to go ahead and mow the ribbon.
It would take 30 seconds more to cut that ribbon.
And you
very
know what, I think a lot of them, like, I texted you about it, because I was like, who's responsible for it? They probably don't even know. They probably think that the city's gonna do it, and they don't wanna, it's like you say, it's not a big deal. If they know that right now, it's really not being taken care of,
It is the
make
right
sure it
of
got
way.
taken care of.
And because for many, many years, it's been mowed by either the city crews, the
Right.
contractor, or now the inmates, that's just been the accepted standard. So when it's not cut,
Right.
it's the city's fault. But I can tell you, when I used to own a business,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
Did it.
maybe they're not aware of that. It would be, because if they got some guy cutting the grass and they're cutting it themselves, like in my case, I didn't care, I just didn't know who was cutting it, because I seen the guy coming down the street, and all of a sudden he stopped, and he went the other way, and I'm like, oh, all right.
yeah. But we can certainly put something out in the chamber newsletter and see if we can at least get them to start maintaining some of the front areas of their properties, at least until the inmates come back, and maybe they'll keep it up.
Well, let's use the mayor's hashtag, Holly Hill Proud, all right? Get them to care.
Yeah.
What I
You had
wanted to
something?
comment on, Robbins, was, he mentioned earlier about the landlord being, or a landlord having to pay some. They do have an occupational.
Yeah, to both Robin and Mr. Legere, we do charge, I think it's $55 a year for a rental license. And if you recall back some years ago, I brought up the idea of charging a lot more for rental properties to discourage property owners from renting. If you don't like the $500 a year rental fee, sell it, let somebody move in and own it. I think I was shot down on that for one reason or the other. But that's one way to get rid of rentals. You price them out. Nobody wants to rent it, somebody's going to live in it and own it. But that's a hard nut to swallow for these people who are in the business of rental properties. That's a business. That's like me going in and say, you now have to charge $25 for a pizza because I'm going to tax you for it. So these people that are and Arthur Kowitz was a big opponent of it, of saying, that's my business. My business is single-family rentals. How can you overtax me because that's my business? So we have to take the code enforcement approach. Yeah, Primo Court, brand new community just put in, pretty much all rental properties. So it's very difficult when you can buy, and this goes back to what we talked about during the work session. Our property values are low. Where else can you go and you can buy a house for $150,000 now, maybe $160,000, and rent it for $1,000 a month? You can't get that return on anything in the banks. So people are coming here for their rental properties, and in order to discourage that, you have to disincentivize it. There's no way you can ask people or encourage them to become homeowners. It doesn't work. The only thing that's going to work is a disincentive to price them out.
But does that create a bunch of vacant homes or properties for sale, and then we're back to?
No. People aren't going to, a tenant, a landlord's not going to own a home and not fill it. So they're going to sell
Pass
it.
it on to the rent?
You won't get people to pay that rent. It gets priced out. So it's a very rough situation. We probably have well more than 50% of our properties are rentals. And not all rentals are bad. I've had 2 good rental properties myself. They were very successful. But I'll tell you, the majority of the rentals, the people don't care about the homes they live in. They don't keep them up. They don't take care of them. They don't mow their grass. They can get a code enforcement violation, and it goes to the property owner, and it becomes a very difficult thing to manage.
I bet if we had more homeowners, you'd write off less on your water bills, too.
Of course you would.
All right. Is that all, Commissioner?
I guess
Yeah, no, I just wanted to follow up
You
with
know,
that. I didn't know
Mr.
if you
Simpson?
did.
Yeah, not directly 100% on point, but the state is going the opposite direction of this, because you all have seen where we can't regulate Airbnbs.
Right.
We can't deal with short-term rentals. So instead of saying, well, we'd rather have longer-term rentals, so people who are living there and they may take better care of it, we can't go in and regulate this and prohibit houses from turning into hotels. And the state did that. They preempted the whole thing. So it's actually going the other direction.
Yeah, and there's still a law that allows 5 unrelated people to live in one house.
5 what?
5 unrelated people can live.
Is that a state law or is that our law?
I
I
believe
think
it
it's
comes-
ours.
I think it's city, right?
Yeah, city law.
Yeah.
City.
Okay. All right. Anything further before we move on? We could talk more about this in another format as well. So let's move down to the approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from July 14th, 2020?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item, to the commission? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now moving to the consent agenda, items 1 and 2. The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless the city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there any commissioner that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda tonight? All right. With that, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda tonight? Yes, sir. Mr. Legary. Yep. Which item would you like to speak to?
Is the raising of the water rates, is that part of the consent agenda?
No, that's in our
It's on the regular agenda.
regular agenda.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm too early.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to this consent agenda, any item? Seeing none, I'll close public participation on the consent agenda, and I'll entertain a motion for approval for both items.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, no discussions needed. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The consent agenda passes unanimously. Moving to our regular agenda, item number 1, Volusia County Coronavirus Relief Fund Municipal Sub-Recipient Grant Agreement. Mr. Forte, would you like to give an overview of?
Yeah, the county received money from the state, federal government for through the CARES Act. And through that CARES Act, they have allocated a certain amount of money to each of the cities based on their populations. The city's been allocated $429,995. We have to have eligible expenses in order to request any of that money for reimbursement. There's a very strict criteria of what it can be used for and can't be used for, and it has to be directly related to COVID-19. In your agenda packet, there's a list of items that the city is planning to purchase, and one of them was on your consent agenda with the piggyback on the computer items. But there are items on here such as personal protective equipment, computers, cleaning cost, if we had to cover unplanned sick leave, third-party utility payments, which is something that you're going to talk about. So we've assembled a list in excess of that because we included revenue losses of $253,000 for a total of $683,000 worth of possible CARES Act reimbursement items. So we have to sign the subrecipient agreement in order to go ahead and submit for these items, and we need commission's approval to go ahead and.
Okay. And the only thing that, as we talked about in the workshop, I would like to add to this is to ask the county if we can add on there the live streaming to be able to do that. You missed that conversation, Scott. Oh, were you listening? Okay.
Yeah, we already did that. We're purchasing the cameras.
Say it into the mic. Say that again.
We're purchasing the cameras.
But it's not on the list to be reimbursed. Has it already been reimbursed?
Well,
No.
I think it is on the list. Yeah, it's on the list.
Yeah.
But is it, which item was it under?
The live streaming in here?
Yeah, we're gonna have, I'm getting 2 cameras, good quality cameras.
Yeah.
To set up so that we can record in here.
Okay.
And yeah, I was looking at doing the YouTube live.
Uh-huh.
But you have restrictions, like you have to have at least 1,000 followers, which we have.
Right. Right.
So there's some issues there, but taking advantage of the money, I went ahead and got the good cameras, just trying to work towards that goal.
Good, good.
It's
So
in the
2 cameras?
details. It's in the details of that list. I didn't
Okay.
have the details of all of it.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Is that including to audio in that? I'm sure
Yeah,
you,
the cameras they're basically like webcams, high-end webcams.
can you connect the audio? Is there a way to pipe in audio, or can we add that in there, audio equipment for that, so that way it's all put together? So that way what we speak into here is what goes out live?
We should be able to do that.
Okay. The only reason I ask is because when John Penny was running the meeting, I was home, it was hard to hear anybody else. I could only hear right around here, and it was very hard to hear anybody that was further than there. Okay, sounds good. Thank you for that clarification. Is there any other questions for staff before we open this up to public? All right. At this time, we will open this item up to public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about this item? Seeing none, I will close public participation. Is there any additions to anyone, or would anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving to item 2, Central Square HTE Fusion application. Mr. Forte.
Yeah, to fully integrate the Paymantis online customer payment system to Central Square, which is our HTE system, it's going to require an additional application and professional services from Central Square, which is going to cost $13,424. The cost is a one-time cost, and it's eligible for CARES Act funding because the new system will eliminate the necessity for in-person payment transaction. The new system will also provide efficiency within the central cashiering function, as online payments will no longer require manual entry into the city's financial system. So this is a software program that's going to link Central Square to Paymantis, and Paymantis will be another item on the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions for staff? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to participate on commenting on this item tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 4, COVID-19 subgrant agreement, FEMA. Mr. Forte.
I might not be on the wrong one. Hold on a second. No, we missed one. We missed item number 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. I crossed off the wrong one.
Okay.
Okay, item number 3, upgrade online customer payment system.
Probably going to need
Apologies.
Stella to come up and tag team me on this one. We just talked about the software program for Central Square that's going to talk to Paymantis. Paymantis is a credit card system that is going to allow our customers to pay online using a credit card. It'll give us the ability to pay for a lot of things using the credit card and online, and promote a non-in-person transaction. Stella, go ahead and give them kind of the brief update.
Stella Gurnay, Finance Director. This system is a third-party system that not integrates, but is a preferred provider for HTE. If you'll remember, almost a year ago, we were all set to go to HTE's Click2Gov product that did all the online stuff for us and payments, and they got breached down in Port Orange, and they're continuing to be breached today at other cities. So their security is a big problem. So we found this third-party software that works with a lot of different systems. In fact, Palm Coast used it right now, and it offers. It's a payment system, but it offers more than just credit card payments. You can do set up electronic checks. You can digitize your cash. Does anybody know what that means? I had to get educated on. Yeah, Scott does. I had to get educated on that. There's 9 places within 2 miles of the city that somebody could walk in, like Winn-Dixie, take cash, and say, I want this on my PayPal. I want this on my Amazon. You can then pull with this system up an app on your phone, pay it with your PayPal account, and you'll be good to go. And it's not just utility accounts, it's other accounts in the city, like building fees and business tax license. The customer will also be able to set up their preferences, look at their consumption. The vendor is going to supply a one portal methodology for sign-on to get to our Ion Water. Some of you may have that now, where you can go in and watch your water, automated water meter. Well, now you'll just be able to go to this one login and go to all those things. We are recommending that we go to the model where the city pays for the fees, the convenience fees that used to be charged by the current provider. The CARES Act, because we did not have that in our budget, will pay a portion of that through December. So, and overall, annually, it actually saves some money overall, not necessarily for the city, but this is a lot for the citizens too, because that's the biggest complaint we get, is that there's the fee to pay online in customer service. So the total right now is about $87,000 annually, if with what the customer pays and what we pay for the credit cards that are in the office there. And this would be about $58,000 annually going through this new system. So I'm real excited about it. I think our customers will really like it.
Yeah, big time. Great work. Quick question. So since we have changed over our website and a few of the systems with it, we used to be able to log on and you would put in your account and then it would tell you how much you owed. So is this going to cover that as well?
Yes, it will.
Okay, so people don't need their actual.
Yes, it
Okay,
will.
great. That's great. That was my only question. Is there any other questions for staff? All right, thank you, Mrs. Gurnay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Curry, a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now COVID-19 subgrant agreement FEMA, item 4.
Now I went to the one ahead of it. Okay, so similar to what we just did with the CARES Act and the county, there is a subrecipient grant for COVID-19 with the State of Florida Division of Emergency Management. Right now, we only have about $7,000 worth of reimbursable expenses, but we have to enter into this subrecipient grant in order to request those funding reimbursements. And it's good that we don't have to go through FEMA for a lot of this. It's going to come through the other CARES Act, so it's a good thing that we passed the other one.
Good. All right, are there any questions for staff? At this time, we'll open it up to the public. Would anybody in the audience like to talk on this item tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public participation and I'll entertain a motion for approval. We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Being quiet tonight, Mr. Penny. No motions or seconds. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item 5, request for code enforcement lien 314 State Avenue. Mr. Forte.
The city received a request for a lien reduction for a code enforcement lien that was placed upon the property at 314 State Avenue. The property is owned by Erzbeth Kroll, who's owned the property since at least 2005. According to the order of noncompliance, which is dated July 1, 2015, an order of violation was issued for violations of the City Code 62-27 for operating a rental business without a license and having multiple rental units on the property without proper permits for the construction that was performed. There's an administrative fee of $250. In addition, a claim of lien was filed on August 11, 2015 in the amount of $50 per day for noncompliance. On August 26, 2015, A lien was filed in the amount of $25 per day for having tenants in the home in violation of the code. The violations on the property were deemed in compliance on April 23, 2019, stopping the accumulation of the liens, resulting in an accumulated lien total of $101,000, plus a special master fee of fee and other expenses that were listed below. The property is in compliance, and she has been maintaining the property in compliance. So we've negotiated a reduction in the lien from the $101,000 to $11,364, which is 10% of the lien amount, plus the other administrative costs that the city has put into the property. So we're recommending that the amount of $11,364.96 be paid by 5 o'clock on September 30th. If it's
Thank
not
you.
paid by that date and time, then the original lien will remain in place.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Is there any questions for staff on this? All right, seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Would anybody in the audience like to speak to the commission on this item? Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Smith.
I don't understand 4 years passing and letting people get away with stuff like this, and then we run this bill up, I've seen this a couple of times, and then we take a little bit of money. And I don't really know all the particulars of how much it costs people. That's your administrative fees, I guess you say, when you talked about the people who have to work on this to, you know, continually be on these people or anything. I don't think we should be as lenient with people. I don't know if you want to, like, not look like bullies to people, but anyone who can't get their act together in 4 years as a renter does not deserve this kind of leniency, in my opinion. And, you know, the city could be collecting a lot more money if that's, you know, if we want to look at it from a business perspective. But I don't think we should let people go that long. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to comment on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Would you like to address that, Mr. Forte?
Sure. $11,000 that we're getting is $11,000 we've never gotten before. To try to get any more money, the property owners simply wouldn't pay it. Like I said earlier, code enforcement is a voluntary compliance issue. If we didn't get them to request a lien reduction and negotiate a lower price, they simply wouldn't do it. Then we'd have to go through a foreclosure process. I'd have to hire an attorney to go through the foreclosure process. It would cost us a lot of money to do that. And if there's a bank lien on the property, they get first dibs at it. So it takes several more years just to go through that foreclosure process. So negotiating it down at 10% of the accumulated lien, which is okay because it didn't get any worse. This was not a visual problem. This was a tenancy problem. So at least the city got $11,000 out of it. Since I'm back with the city, we've gotten a lot of money on lien reductions because we've been pushing it basically based on what the code officers have been doing and what we've been doing in threatening foreclosure, but getting compliance instead. Got to remember, the goal here is not the money, it's compliance.
Right.
So the little bit of money that we do get is good, but compliance is more important.
But when we have a $101,000 lien, you know, on a property that may be worth only $140,000, you know, they won't pay it. So it is good that we're getting it does, because we do come and reduce those liens a lot. But these liens are of hundreds of thousands of dollars that just don't make sense, you know, in a way. So thank you for explaining that, though.
In reality, we should cap the liens at a certain percentage of the value of the home and then not forgive any of it.
Yeah, because that's about the best.
Say
you
we're going to
can
put a
get.
lien on your property until it reaches 25% of the value of your home, and if it gets to that point, we will never reduce it, and you'll have to pay it.
And we're foreclosed.
Right, that's another option.
Yeah. Or
But these
have
things
another
go
fight again
on.
and try to put it on the tax bill.
What we do on the tax bill is if we have to go onto the property and make
Right,
repairs.
and actually
that
make
we
the
do.
repair. Right, right. Okay.
We recoup all actual city costs, whether it's tangible costs or time.
Plus 10%, right?
10% of the accumulated fine.
We get the money we've got in it plus 10% or no?
Plus 10% of the accumulated.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much. Good question, Mrs. Smith. Is the applicant here tonight? Yes. Would you like to speak? Sometimes you can talk past the sale. Yeah, this is for the lien reduction of 314 State Avenue? Oh, okay. No problem. So with that, we will close public comments, and I will entertain a motion for approval to reduce the lien to $11,000, $364.96.
Payable by that date.
Payable, excuse me,
Payable by September 30th.
Supptember 30th. All right, as stated. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion since he looks like he was about to.
Okay. You want to make the second, Mr. Vice Mayor? No, okay.
I don't want to do anything.
The whole night. Can I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our public hearings. Resolution 2020-R-39, Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2020-R-39 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, establishing certain fees, decreasing certain fees, and increasing certain existing fees for various services, permits, and certificates provided by the city, and increasing water and sewer rates by 5.5% for the next fiscal year, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Is there any questions for staff? All right.
I think I should read this a little bit into the record first.
Okay.
Okay, so on August 13th, 2019, the City Commission reviewed the utility rate study and adopted changes in the city's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 70 for utilities. The new fee structure methodology in this code change is consistent with the recommended industry practices. The code change provided for annual rate adjustment for the utilities of 5.5% for 5 years. The resolution updates the utility fees based on the changes to the city's Code of Ordinances in Chapter 70. In addition, the resolution incorporates annual modifications and changes to various fees, costs, surcharges, and administrative costs and fees relating to the Code of Ordinances, the Land Development Code, and various administrative costs and fees. The schedule of fines, fees, costs, and other penalties has been modified. This is an annual adoption of those rates adjusted for the fiscal year per the existing ordinance and other factors. This was advertised last year when we did the rate study and noticed on all of the utility bills notifying everybody that there would be an increase. The increase was adopted last year for 5.5% increase for the next 5 years. At the end of that 5-year period, we'll do another analysis to see where the rate should be at that point.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Are there any questions for staff? All right. At this time, we will open this up to public comment. Mr. Legary.
Jim Legary, 342 Burley. I think I moved here about 32 years ago, something like that. And the water bill was somewhere between $39 and $45. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
How much was a loaf of bread?
What a break for me. Yeah. So my water bill now is about $145. And that's close to 300%. And we're talking here, I think, about raising it 25 more percentage-wise.
5.5.
This is an enterprise fund, isn't it?
It is.
It is. And if I'm correct, I think we make money with this fund every year.
Not our fund.
Sir?
Not our fund. We are in a declining account because of the amount of repairs and replacements that we need to do. That's what the study showed last year.
Yeah, I'm sure. And there was a very long time that it wasn't, none of this stuff was addressed. I think, is there any provision in this? I think 25% of our population lives below the poverty line. Is there any provision for those people?
Yeah, if you recall, last year, the folks that were using 1,000 gallons or less actually saw a reduction in their water bills. It's based on an escalating scale now that the more you use, the more you pay. It's called the conservative rate, hoping that people will conserve water to use less to pay less.
And that's working out how?
So far, so good. You're the only one here.
Hey, Val, can you pause the moment for a moment? And just direct your comments to us, please, and you can state questions and we will answer them at the end, but we just have to keep this as public comments, and we will address these things, but I just don't want to get into the habit of people coming up and asking staff on the fly. Thank you, Mr. Legary.
So like I say, I think the people, the people, I constantly feel that, you know, the expense of living here has risen dramatically. And I think, and like we say, 25% of the population is below the poverty line, and the solution is not to shower. It doesn't seem correct to me.
Thank you, Mr. Legary. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to comment on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
We're not going to discuss.
We can discuss after we have a motion, yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Motion for approval?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I was about to die for a lack of a
Yeah,
second.
well, I don't think that
Vice
can
Mayor's
happen
trying to keep his mouth
technically wise,
closed.
can it?
Did a good job. All right, so now we can have discussion. You are the mover of the motion, so.
No, I was going to say, we had already been through this with the study and everything else. The people that use the most water are the people that are going to get penalized, and it would be mostly in the corporate world. We felt at the time, the commission felt that it was a fair, if I was, you know, am correct, that there was more opportunity to pass the cost on to the consumer at the end of this chain through the business world than it would be through the residential. So we kind of, with the study and this methodology, the average to less than average user would actually come out ahead, Mr. Legary. Whereas, you know, my pizza might have to go up $1 because I'm on the commercial end of it. You as a resident should, if you're conservative, you should actually come out ahead. That was the understanding we had through this.
The gist.
Yeah.
Overall 5.5, but it's on a sliding scale.
Right.
The motion is,
I have nothing.
okay, yes. Mr.
Well,
Vice
the thing that we have to remember back to the study that was done last year is that we have failing infrastructure, and these rate increases will prepare us for when it's time to replace very expensive pieces of equipment. So rather than have a knee-jerk reaction and be reactive to a situation, through Mr. Forte's guidance, we're trying to be more proactive so that these things are planned for ahead of time and that we don't have to go out and bond a $3 million loan to take care of an emergency situation. That's really not an emergency. We just, Antoine's gone. But most of the stuff in Public Works, we use 2 to 3 times its expected life in the field, and then we scramble around when it fails us 10 years after it was supposed to fail anyways. So this is the proactive thing to do.
And looking to that point, when looking at the future cost of having to fix a lot of the machines that run our water department, really there's no way around it other than to raise the money to keep that water system going, which shouldn't be supplemented from any other fund, should be directly consumed from that.
No, I was all concerned, Mr. Glary, you hit it on the head when you said that things weren't taken care of. I mean, the can got kicked down the road too many years, and unfortunately, we ended up at the brunt of, you know, where we're at now. Had this been in place through previous commissions, and I'm not saying that, you know, they had a chance to do it, whatever, but you can't keep kicking the can down the road and not expect something to happen at some point. We have an old city, we have old infrastructure, so it's it's time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any further discussion? All right, with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving to item 2 on the public hearing, 1620 Moravia Avenue. Mr. Forte, would you like to bring?
Brian's going to make the presentation on the variance request.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Yes, good evening, Commission. This is a request for a variance from the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 2 feet, and this is for the property at 1620 Moravia Avenue. This particular parcel is part of the Elizabeth Rawlinson's plat, which means that the lot was created in 1901. And at the time that it was created, the parcel was 100 feet wide. But sometime between 1901, but prior to the establishment and adoption of our code in 1993, the parcel got split into 2 parcels which are now each 50 feet wide. Now, current zoning regulations in the R1 zoning district, which this lot is zoned R1, require that the lot be a minimum of 90 feet wide. But because the parcel was subdivided prior to the adoption of our code, it's considered to be legal non-conforming. This normally wouldn't be a problem, except that the applicant wants to build a deck in the backyard on the north side of the property. And given that the property is substandard for width, this presents an issue for the applicant with regard to meeting the side yard setback. The applicant feels that they can't make reasonable use of the property to build the deck and still meet the required side yard setback because it would require that the deck be very small. So that's the reason for this variance request. And just to recap, it's a request for a variance from Section 114-765 of the Land Development Regulations from the required side yard setback on the north side of the property from 10 feet to 2 feet. Now, in order to grant this specific request, the Commission has to find that it meets the requirements of Section 82-317. There are 6 criteria in your staff report. Staff has reviewed the criteria and does find that the applicant, in staff's opinion, has met all of the criteria stated in that section. This item was presented to the Board of Planning and Appeals on August 3rd, 2020, and the Board of Planning and Appeals did vote unanimously to recommend approval of the request for the variance from the required side yard setback. So therefore, staff recommends approval of the request for a side yard setback variance from the requirements of Section 114-765 of the Land Development Regulations titled Schedule of Dimensional Requirements, a variance from the required side yard setback on the north side of the property from 10 feet to 2 feet for a parcel in the R1 zoning district located on the west side of Moravia Avenue, approximately 100 feet south of Situate Lane, and more particularly known as 1620 Moravia Avenue.
Thank you for reading that part into the record as well. We will reference that in our motion, I believe. So thank you, Mr. Walker. At this time, I will give the applicant a chance to come up and speak if you'd like to add anything further that Mr. Walker may not have spoken about. And when you come up, I'll ask for your name and your address just for the record, and then you can go ahead and start.
Scott Lucas at 1620 Moravia. I'm not sure I have a lot to add to what he did. His was way more technical than I'm going to come up with, obviously. So this is something, there were actually pictures and things at the last meeting, but I, through a long story and total fault of my own, built the deck and then tore it back down in order to try to get the variance. And it's not so much that the deck would be small. Right now, the deck is small. If I came in 10 feet from either side, my house would actually be 20 feet wide. I'd be living in a hallway. And so since I have a driveway on one side of the house, if I put the deck 10 feet, I would literally cut right through the middle of my yard and block access to the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Great. Thank you so much. Is there any questions for the applicant before he sits down? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there any questions for staff on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and open up public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. Is there any ex parte communication that has happened that needs to be disclosed? Seeing none, then I will entertain a motion for approval as stated by Mr. Walker.
So moved.
Whoa. We have a motion and a second. The motion, for the record, was made by Vice Mayor Penny. Thank you for that. And is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, that's the end of our meeting. So now we will move to communications, and we'll go to Mr. Forte. Do you have anything for us tonight?
A couple of items. The audit committee, the audit selection committee reviewed the audit submittals and there were 6 submittals, and they were unanimous in coming up with the top 2. So the question that I have now for the commission, because only the commission can make the final selection, is you can do one of 2 things. You can take the submittals that we received, the RFPs submittals, and review them and rank them and grade them yourself, or you could have the two finalists come to a commission meeting and do a presentation, and based on their presentation, make a selection. So I need to know which direction that you want.
Sorry, what was this for again?
The audit,
Oh, the audit, thank you.
the auditor.
Okay, does anybody have any opinions on which way you would like to do it? So you said one way is,
One way is to get the two submittal books,
Okay.
review them, and then you rank them 1 and 2, and be able to come to the meeting and voice your conclusions based on what you've reviewed. And the other is to have the two applicants come and do a presentation to you, where you don't necessarily have to do such a deep dive into the into the submittal. We'll give you copies of them, but you don't have to do as much of a deep dive, and you can prepare questions for the two applicants and then make a selection based on that. Now, Commissioner Penny was on the selection committee, so he's already reviewed all of them.
you are,
I was.
and you reviewed this?
I reviewed 6 of them with criteria set forth in the RFP.
Oh, that's
And-
right, we appointed you to that.
Yeah, never admit to being a numbers guy if you don't want to read through 6. But I didn't bring the ranking with me. But there were clearly, out of the 6, the top 2 clearly rose to the top. And in my opinion, the number 1 ranked was the clear winner. But because of the ranking, the 4 of us that ranked them, we either ranked 1 and 2, either 1 or 2.
Right.
1 was clearly the winner, but because when you add the total up of all the rankings, there's a clear distinction between the top 2 and the bottom 2. But then because everyone ranked 1 and 2 as 1 and 2, their numbers become very close. But it was a unanimous decision, I believe, with the number 1 candidate.
So being through the process, would you rather us just get the information individually, look it over, and then come to the meeting knowing that, or do you think we should have what would you be more in favor of?
I think
Presentation.
I think if this commission were to review the top 2 applicants based on the same criteria that the selection committee did, you would then be able to form your opinion. My concern is if you get 2 applicants come, they're gonna
Try
do
to
a
sell.
slick dog and
Try to
pony
sell
show,
themselves, yeah.
and you're gonna be impressed by a beautiful picture. I don't know what auditors do with pictures, but anyhow, you're gonna be impressed with the presentation rather than the black and white facts.
Right.
And we had to look at black and white facts. And so,
So you would prefer the black and white
I,
presentation?
that's what we had to do, so
Okay.
I would recommend that you get a copy of the presentations and rank them that way. That way you would have the same opportunity that we did.
Okay.
I think I would prefer us getting factual material and not looking at a dog and pony show.
Well, they're
I'm not sure what we're trying to do, rank
Well,
them?
because I believe
The audit.
last time, didn't we get information to be able to rank them ourselves?
The rules are a little different this time than they were the last time. The law has changed, and as Scott's looking at it, we're realizing we are actually supposed to bring 3.
Well, we would
well,
have the
just
top
put-
3.
Just put the third on there.
Yeah,
then.
we'll just have to bring the next highest ranking one to that list.
Okay.
And it's different whether or not the initial review ranking criteria considered compensation or didn't consider compensation.
It did, it was 20, there was 25% was.
They told me
for
said it was, compensation was part of it. so-
Yeah, it was a minor part of it.
And due to law, is that okay to consider compensation?
Yeah, there's just 2 different
Okay.
review processes. And basically what it says,
I'll go.
if compensation is one of the factors established pursuant to 3A and used in the evaluation of proposals pursuant to paragraph 3D, the governing body shall select the highest ranked qualified firm or must document in public records the reason for not selecting the highest ranked qualified firm. So you're going to have 1, 2, and 3 come back to you, and then you then ultimately will select the highest ranked firm. And that would be probably the one they rank number 1. And if you don't select it with the one they pick number 1, you got to say why, as I read the law.
And the criteria is things like How long have they been in business? The size of their firm?
This is the audit report.
How much experience do they have with municipalities? One of the organizations didn't do much auditing with cities. They did more with like pension boards. And so those are all things in. And then the qualification and the team, and then their audit approach. How would they do the audit? And then the last criteria was the price. And the price was the least
Well, they had to.
ranking. So it was like 50, 30, 20. And then when you add them all up, you got 100 points.
And negotiate a contract.
Does that answer any of your questions, Commissioner?
I'm not sure what we're just basically doing the same thing that he did.
You're gonna do the same thing that we did
The
but
ultimate decision.
And we're trying to come up with
it's
a 1,
this
2, 3,
decision,
you know,
this,
A one.
ranking.
We want just a one.
But the law says
So
you have to come with the
we would
ranking.
get the information,
You have six,
and
the
the
law says
question
you
is do we want to do it as,
And
have the
rank 'em.
No, I
top three
understand that.
people
I
come and do
understand that part.
presentation?
I was
Or
just
do
trying
we
to
just
figure out
want
our
to?
ultimate goal here. We're picking
Our ultimate goal is pick one, pick our auditor.
Say one,
Yeah.
so we have to go back.
Mr. Johnson, do you have anything to add to that?
You have top
I
three.
Have to bring in the top
Yeah,
three.
is it for them?
Yeah.
Sidebar.
I just have a question. Since we already have the group that went through and assessed everything, we don't go off of their recommendation at all?
Well, yes, we'll
so
bring
what
you
are
the
we
top
doing?
three ranked in order, and then.
And then we have to rank them?
No, you basically accept our ranking unless you have justification to change
Okay.
the ranking.
I think
Oh,
that's
so
what we
just
did
like
last
normal
time.
ranking then?
Yeah.
That's what we always do.
I almost remember
So-
doing that last time.
But it's just governed by its own separate statute. There's a whole statute that governs the selection process. And
Last time we didn't have a selection committee. It
So
just
we're
went
not
right to the commission.
redoing what all the work they did. We're just kind of,
basically, they're going to present you to their findings.
Right.
Look at
And
the
either you
findings.
accept
and we're going to
it
approve it or not.
or not.
Right.
And we have
And
to
if you
have a
don't-
reason
don't,
or
right.
not.
For not, you have to
Okay.
have a very good reason. Yes.
Got it.
John, was the question who was number one and number two, or no, did number one come out on top?
number one was clearly number one.
Okay.
But because we all either ranked them 1 or 2, like
Right.
one person ranked them 2 and 1, and everyone else ranked them 1 and 2.
Right.
So there were 2 clear winners and 2 clear losers, and then the other were in the middle.
Okay.
So some of them went runner-up, winner, and
Right.
some of them went winner, runner-up.
Right.
Got it.
All right, so then, what I'm hearing, Mr. Forte, is no presentation. We'll review the packet and then go from there.
Okay,
Thank you. Anything else?
yes. 224 Riverside Drive, we entered into a contract with that. Marta must
left.
She just left.
She just walked out.
We did have a contract on that. They're going through a 30-day due diligence period and then another 30 days to close due to the uniqueness of the property and the elevations that are required and the ingress and egress to it and the stormwater requirements. So that's at least some good news. I did get the appraisal done on the property at 8th and Ridgewood. That's the one where we put the 3 utility boxes on there, and the owner's not happy with that. We didn't have the easement at the time. And that appraisal came out at $135,000 as opposed to the $200,000 that he's advertised it for sale and is requesting from the city. So I'm seeking your direction on how you want to proceed with that. He's pretty firm. The last letter I got said, buy my property or remove your stuff. So,
He's firm on 200,000.
I don't know if he's firm on 200,000. Now that I have an appraisal, I can approach him and let him know that the appraised value is this amount. And even if you go to try to sell it, anybody else is going to be looking at that appraised value. And
And they're
that's,
only going to get a percentage of the appraised value if they finance it.
I'm gonna have to be convinced to sell for anything more than the
I agree.
appraised value, so.
I agree.
Mr. F-
Joe,
Penny?
is the appraisal based on the diminished value?
No.
of the 3 boxes on it?
no, I asked him to not take into consideration that those boxes are on the property.
So now you're worth
Good
$1.50.
thinking.
I can't pay more than it's appraised for.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I can't.
And if we buy it, you turn around and sell it, or put it up for sale the next day.
Right.
How much does it cost to take out the boxes? But we can't.
Can't.
Doesn't matter if
Right, we
taking
gotta
that
do
is-
that. That's all part of it. So really, he's,
No, he doesn't. Don't say it.
no, I wouldn't say it, no.
Okay, well, do you want to make this an agended item, or do you want us to hash it out right now?
Well, we're kind of running out of time, you know, it's,
We don't have 2 weeks?
yeah, we have 2 weeks. I mean, if you'd like, you can give me the direction to make an offer and then bring the contract back for approval and discussion. I may make the offer and he may come back and say, no, it's X dollars, and I can put that on the agenda to discuss our offer and that counter offer.
Because I don't have enough information, I don't want to, and maybe it's the will of the commission, to ask you to make an offer of what the appraised value is, but right now, I don't want to pull the trigger on that, and the reason is I just don't fully understand the legal implications and what it really truly means to the project that is happening. And so we do have Mr. Simpson here tonight.
Yeah, we have basically a taking. We took somebody's property by putting those boxes on there, and these are not below-ground items that it would be in the easement. These are boxes that are above ground, so it's technically a taking.
How long ago did we do that?
Last year.
So, Mr. Simpson, talk to us about legal specifics of this happened, and I'm sure you're aware of. Are you aware of all the facts?
I'm not aware of any of the facts.
Okay. Wow.
Until right now.
Okay.
So-
Well, we need to maybe
Think quick.
maybe get up to speed on this, because I don't know the legal implications of what we did do or did not, and what that means. But in a way, I feel that we're being held hostage for a property that this man couldn't sell. And now that he sees the government's coming along, and maybe we did, maybe we didn't make a mistake on doing that.
I'll go over the details with Scott, but
Okay.
if we don't come to a reasonable negotiated conclusion, it goes to eminent domain.
Oh, really?
You know, we took his property.
And so then, Scott, would we be opening ourselves up for a lawsuit? And
We would actually, I mean, if, from what I'm piecing together here, our equipment went somewhere it wasn't supposed to go. So with there, I assume we didn't have design plans.
Yes, we did.
Huh?
Yeah, we did.
We designed it to put it on, actually intended to put it on somebody else's property?
Yep, it was.
And maybe you should have this conversation
This was
after the
only
meeting.
person that didn't sign the easement agreements
Okay.
on US 1, so the contractor
Mayor,
proceeded
quite possibly we could just
after
be
several
informed
attempts to try and get
once
him to
they
sign the easement agreement.
hash everything.
That's what I'm starting to
So,
think.
yeah, it was designed this way.
Mr. Forte, would you like to get with Mr. Simpson and talk this through and maybe
I would
update
not
us?
like to, but I will have to.
That's kind of what I'm feeling. Commissioner Curry just said that. But the floor is open, so if anyone wants to chime in, if anyone has an idea or thought.
I'm just thinking, there's no harm in Joe starting to negotiate a price for this, because
It's going to come to that.
the city's screwed up, we're gonna have to pay for it. Whatever he agrees to doesn't bind the city, it comes back to us for final approval. So if he
Right.
agrees to $300,000,
Right.
it's gonna come back and say, no, it's gonna unfortunately be that ugly word eminent domain, and we let the court decide what it's worth.
Right.
And we know it's not gonna be worth much more than the appraised value of 135.
And you can use that in your defense, you know.
Well,
Mrs.
if it
Curry?
does go the eminent domain route, there's two ways you can go with it. Eminent domain, one is called a quick taking. The difference is, we
Can you
make a
speak
good
closer to
faith
the
effort-
microphone too? It's just
We make a good faith effort estimate of what the value is. We take the property, we pay that into the court, and they can either accept it or we argue over the valuation. Now, you do that when you know you have to have the property, which it sounds like this situation is. The other option is you go forward and you go through the valuation process. You don't do a quick take where you get the ownership up front, and you go through and you let the court determine what the value is, and then you can back out and say, that's too much, we're not doing it. That doesn't sound like an option here. So it looks like we're in a situation of what's called a quick take. And so, there's a whole procedure for it in the law, and you pay into the court registry. Last time I looked at it, it's not something we do very often or ever. So, you pay it into the registry of court, and we get ownership, and then they can either accept it or they can argue in court that it's worth more than that.
Would it be the entire property we'd have to pay for, or just that right-of-way? Because we're talking about very little amount of the actual property.
I don't know, I don't know.
The whole, it would be the whole property.
It would be the entire property, so we couldn't, okay.
And to relocate those boxes is hundreds of thousands of dollars to the whole project. So it doesn't make economic sense, not, you hate to pay the guy off, but we screwed up.
You're not gonna, my turn?
Yep, your turn.
You're not gonna get it for 135,000 if the guy knows it's appraised for 135,000. But then again, you know, you don't wanna give him 200,000. You need to start somewhere a little bit overappraised and then try to negotiate something. And I mean, you gotta figure out the cost of all the legalities and everything else. It's like,
We can't sell it to anyone else for more than appraised value
Yeah,
unless
I
they really want
disagree.
it.
if he goes and takes it to eminent domain and all that, it sounds like it's gonna.
Tax value, that's the appraised value of the property, right?
Yeah, that's what I would.
Yeah, but if you're talking about legal fees for Scott to get involved,
Right.
to get it for the appraised value, now you're adding on.
Yeah, but if he were to have to take,
You know, I have a general understanding within this last few minutes of what
Right.
happened. And I think Joe ought to go see what he can negotiate,
see what he can do.
and then y'all decide whether I get involved.
Okay,
I mean, if you think I'm gonna pull some legal rabbit out of the hat based on what I've heard here tonight, it ain't gonna happen.
really?
So, you know, there's,
Okay, so
I mean,
Is there gonna be legal fees involved if he so I mean, if Joe says.
If Joe
"It's worth
calls him
135,"
tomorrow, yeah,
and
he's
says,
paying
"I'll give you
Scott.
135," and the guy says no.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
and then
That's
we'll
what I'm
end
saying.
up paying his legal fees.
I wouldn't assume that.
Say it again?
I wouldn't assume we have to pay his legal fees. I mean, sometimes
gonna
that
pay.
happens, but it depends on, you know, if we make a good faith offer and the court agrees with our valuation, I don't think we pay his attorney's fees. He may have to pay our attorney's fees. And it comes out of what's been paid. So, I mean, there's a lot of, this is highly regulated by the law. I wasn't brought, I knew nothing about this before I came in here.
I know.
So I really can't tell you what the law is on it because I haven't researched it to be able to speak, you know, on it. But
Right.
based on what I know is, I think Joe's come to the conclusion, there's no legal option here.
What sounds fair is appraisal value. If
The
we
place to start.
have to, it's.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna, you know, if it was something we did years ago, we have an argument. If the property changed hands since we did it, we'd have an argument. But in this particular situation, I think what the first step is reasonable, see if Joe can come to a reasonable settlement that y'all are happy with. If not, then evaluate your legal options.
Okay.
It's been for sale for 10 years for
That sounds good.
$200,000. There haven't been any offers on it, I think.
That's what I
That
said.
means he's asking too much for the property.
Right. But he's also got he's kind of got holding the hand, the ace in the hand, sort of, so.
Well, and that's
To a certain extent, he knows that, so I mean, you're,
Right.
you know, we give you direction to,
Try to
Bring
negotiate.
back the best offer you can.
that's right.
yeah. I would say that seems to be consensus for you to negotiate with him, and we can discuss everything else
MIA appraisal,
when you come back.
several $1,000s.
$1,000.
Is that one they're prepared to go to court on? That's what you need to know.
It's from Cooksey and Associates. They're one of.
Do you have anything else for us, Mr. Forte?
Yes, National Night Out is typically, been rescheduled till October due to the virus. I'm checking with you to see if this is something that you want to continue with doing this year. I'm going to get a response out of the chamber, I think by Friday, as to whether or not they want to move forward with the trunk or treat. It doesn't seem like they want to. So the first item is really the National Night Out, which is scheduled, I think, the second week in October. So most cities are still canceling a lot of their events.
Okay. I don't want to cancel it right now, but how's my commission feel?
I say cancel it. You've got 6
One
weeks to
cancel.
go.
One cancel.
Out of the interest of public health, I would be for canceling.
Cancel.
My wife went to the doctor today, and his medical professional opinion is that school will be canceled by the middle of October. That ain't gonna happen.
So cancel. You have 3 cancels at least, so there's your consensus. Unless you want to weigh in, but.
I'd say cancel, you're probably just about gonna have to cancel it.
Okay, there's consensus, Joe.
Okay, and the last thing, as Pictona is coming to conclusion on the construction work, just to let everybody know that the community gardens are getting close to being done. We've already got half of the plots that have been leased, and looking forward to the rest of them getting leased.
Wow, nice. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Forte. Anything from Mr. Simpson?
No comment.
Okay. Valerie, do you have anything for us tonight?
You've said enough.
Okay. I don't have anything for us either, other than I do want to make a clarification for the record, Val, please. In our workshop that I did throw around the title of Community Development Director, and I want to just state that we have a great one, and we're not getting a new one, because I meant Economic Development Coordinator. And I said community because I deal with you so much. So, no, it's no surprise, Brian. But I just want the record to reflect that I was not saying we're getting a new community development director. We got a great one. So the only other thing is tonight, and I said this earlier, I drove here on Flomish Avenue, and I'm surprised that it got done so quickly and has already been striped. So it was smooth as butter coming here. So
Real happy about that, man.
oh, I know. A lot of people are going to be happy about that. So that's just a little bit of good news. All right. So with that, we will we'll start with, you know what? We'll start with you tonight since you did the prayer. Okay. I don't have my
Chief, first and foremost, not to be a Debbie Downer with that National Night Out, man. I think it's great, and I hope we can do it in the spring or something. I just don't want to get people's expectations and hopes up. I know you understand, first and foremost. No, I didn't have a whole lot to say. I thought we had a pretty good discussion all in all. And remember, National Kiss and Makeup Day, so.
Yeah.
At least when we do our thing up here, sometimes we may not agree, but we agree to disagree, and I think that's why we have a good commission. So, proud to be on it. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Johnson?
About the only thing I have tonight is so much controversy and so much talk about how bad the nursing homes are, and senior care centers are, and how many deaths we're having in them, and different cases and all, and I keep pretty close in touch with the Riviera, which has been in Hollow Hill for a long, long, long time, and they have 0 cases of coronavirus, 0.
Yeah.
That's a good thing right here in Hollow, and that's a big one. They've reopened their dining room for the first time. They started doing that, opened it up, where they've been serving all the residents in the rooms, and now they reopened the dining room, let them come in with one to a table, so they keep them social distancing. And they've also got, they say, to make it very clear that they have rooms available if anyone wants to rent a room at their place right now.
You got your room reserved?
I'm within walking distance.
Yeah. That's true.
Really good. I gotta get a little bit closer contact with Bishop, and they was having some problems a while back, but they may have cleared theirs up a lot, but just remember, Riviera Plaza is in Hollow Hill, and they have 0 cases.
So does the Publix, as far as I know.
That's one of
That's
the
like one of the only
control
Publixes
boxes.
across the street. That's pretty impressive,
5 feet tall.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Impressive, I think.
And
That ought to go into the history.
This is the control box there?
Because they
Yeah,
say that.
that's the
about
base.
48%
That's
of
the
deaths
base where all the wires
of
come in.
coronavirus is in nursing
That's
homes.
one.
And whatever people don't show up for the test.
Can you lean
sites-
forward, Commissioner? Speak more into the mic. It's just for the record.
Some people don't show up for the test sites.
It's almost 2 years.
When
to
they're
get
scheduled for a
satisfying
test,
and anything
they
refused,
count them
and it just
100%
He sends the letter,
positive.
he doesn't open them, whatever. So
Hmm.
the contractor just
So
picked up.
there's a lot of it's positive that may not be positive and they may.
Finally,
It's still a bad thing going around, and I really
that's the thing,
believe it's
is
getting
it'd be
better.
one thing if it was below ground, but in this case.
Thank you, Commissioner.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Vice Mayor Penny?
All right. Are we going to reconvene and do the workshop after that? I didn't know if we want to announce to the
That's right.
public, or are we just going to go home?
That is right. So we had just the 2 items that were LPGA widening, which we have talked to death over the years. It's not really changing as of yet. And we talked property.
Yeah, I don't think there's really,
Street repaving.
I mean, I think those are already goals. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't,
those are goals, so.
Goals
I
we're
don't,
working on.
unless anyone has anything to add to it, we can leave it.
I didn't personally, but I just didn't want everyone to get up and
No, thank you
leave
for
and
reminding me
reach
of that,
there.
yeah.
Just great communication.
you know. One thing I wanted to announce is that the Southeast Volusia YMCA and the Holly Hill YMCA, effective September 1st, will be 24-hour facilities.
Wow. That's good.
You're going to pay $24.
Wow.
$24 for 24-hour access.
That's great.
There's going to be, now that's on top of your $10 monthly fee. But $24 will get you in there 24 hours a day. You'll have a swipe card, cameras everywhere, so you can't let your friend in. You'll have access to the gymnasium and the workout facility. You will not have access to the locker rooms or any of the group exercise areas, but you can use the gym. So it's an and the library. It's an experiment. It's going to be rolled out throughout the organization in the next couple months, but Holly Hill and Southeast are the two smallest locations. So we're going to work out the bugs there first and then roll it out to the entire county.
Very neat.
So that's something cool.
Yeah. That's great.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Curry?
I really have nothing. I believe school is supposed to start next Monday. We'll see what happens. So please remember all those kiddos out there waiting on the bus, getting off the bus to go home and play their video games. I'm personally a little nervous because my grandson starts VPK, so we'll see what happens. And he's going to be a knight. So I now have more reason to be involved at our K through 8 school. I loved it before, now it's going to be even better because my grandson will be attending there. That's all I have. I hope everybody stays safe and has a good night.
All right. Is there anything further? All right. Seeing none, we will adjourn this meeting. I have to go to the bathroom so bad.
You're gonna say. 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 You're gonna say.